Hi everyone, welcome to the Wargaming Parrot. I'm David and today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of getting a rescue parrot. I'm here with Scampi, who's actually a rescue parrot which got from a rescue, and we're just going to discuss what the good things about getting a rescue are, what necessarily I don't really want to call them bad things, but the cons of getting a rescue, the things you need to consider before you get one. So like my other pro and con videos, I'm going to start with the pros, because I think it's best to start with positive. As you can notice, I've had to sleeve my hand slightly because Scampi's a bit naughty with biting, so we'll see how he gets on. My first pro is you're doing a good thing by taking on a rescue. A lot of people say that, rescue's the best, and in some ways they really are. If you get a rescue, like Mr. Scampi here, you're taking on a bird who may not find a stable home otherwise. I think that's an awesome thing to do. It's worth mentioning that parrots are the number one most rehomed species on the whole planet, and that really is saying something. They're a lot of hard work and a lot of people just aren't prepared for that. So when you take on one of these birds as a rescue, you're helping to get one of those birds a stable home. Just like any other parrot, rescues can be full of personality. Scampi here is a complete individual, and while he can be very naughty, he's just so full of energy, and he's just like a crazy toddler, and we love that about him. And some rescues are okay with humans. There's some negative stigma around some rescues, and sometimes they can be difficult. Other times they can be difficult, but at the same time they can be perfectly happy being handled and perfectly happy being on humans. Another positive is if you rehome a bird from a rescue, you are helping other birds, and helping that rescue help other birds by your donation. You provide initial donation to them, and sometimes they have subscriptions, and this helps other birds. So in some ways you're doing a good thing through that. When you rehome a bird, it can also be a very rewarding experience when you start bonding with them. We've started bonding with Scampi and Olive, and I'm fully bonded with Pickles, our other rescue conure, and it's very rewarding when they start showing those signs of trust. Like Scampi can sit on my shoulder, he's nibbling my ear, but he doesn't really bite it hard. He may still bite my fingers, but at the same time he's getting used to us, and we can see the progress and improvement in his behaviour and the comfort we're providing to him. It also provides you the opportunity to help them with their behavioural issues and resolve bad situations or any issues they may have, and seeing them improve and feel better is just such a nice thing. So now I've covered the pros, I'm going to move on to the cons, and there is quite an extensive list that you should consider before you get a rescue bird. My first con is rescues may not necessarily be suitable for first-time bird owners. This is somewhat controversial, as often there's this prevailing approach that you should always get a rescue. That isn't necessarily true. I would recommend getting a rescue, especially if you've done your research and you know what you're doing. But if you're a first-time bird owner, it may not be suitable. For example, we are Scampi's fourth home. He was passed around because people weren't prepared for some of his behavioural issues. And it's just so important to consider this as a first-time bird owner. Do your research, consider all of the options, and if a rescue isn't suitable for you because you feel that you can't commit that extra time and effort, then you should go for a hand-reared bird or a bird from a pet shop. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that at all. Just in addition to what I just said, make sure the breeder or the pet shop is reputable and they actually genuinely care about the birds. I can never recommend getting one from a pet shop that just doesn't really care. So consider that also. Another con when getting a rescue is potential behavioural problems. Rescues are more prone to this, not because there's anything wrong with them fundamentally, but because of their experiences. Just like with humans, they have negative experiences, they're kept in their cage all the time, or they're mistreated, they're more prone to having behavioural issues. And this is something you need to consider when you're getting a rescue. Can you put in that extra time? Olive is actually showing not a behavioural issue, but a rather cute one, dancing. But anyway, can you put in that extra time and effort required to help these birds? For example, Olive is a really big biter. As you can see, I've got her on a perch right now. Just going to turn that so she's more comfortable. And this is because if I had if she was on my fingers, she would probably bite them. It's not because she hates us, she's showing genuine signs of affection towards us now. It's because of her experiences and that she was never taught to moderate her bite force. And it's just very important that you bear this in mind. These behavioural issues will need to be worked on, they'll require a lot of effort on your part and a lot of care and attention and a lot of patience as well. Because if she bites us, we can't just put her back in her cage and get angry. We have to take a moment, accept it, and then just crack on with her training. When you get a rescue, they may also have some health issues you need to address. Plucking would be one of the most common ones because it's caused by stress. So you may need to look up online how to deal with plucking, you may need to take special steps to make sure that the plucking is reduced, and that takes extra effort. Another common one is overgrown nails. This can make it very difficult for them to walk on their perches. So as you can see, we're using a sort of textured perch here because Olive's nails are quite long. We are getting to the point where we can trim them. Another very common issue is muscle strength. Olive was barely ever let out of her cage, so her wing strength is terrible, and we're trying to encourage her to fly a little bit, but she's just not really into it, so that takes more effort and we need to keep training her. And that's something that's really worth working on with a rescue, to make sure they get their flight back and they can enjoy flying around just like any other bird would. I touched on this in my pros because it's kind of in the middle of both of them. But most rescue centres, when you get a rescue bird, they require a one-off cost and then they require a subscription. This may not appeal to everyone because effectively you've already paid and you're paying again. It's a positive in that you're helping a rescue help other birds, but it can be a negative as the costs do mount up and you need to maintain that subscription throughout the lifespan of the bird. So if you're talking about decades, that's going to be a lot of money. It's something that's worth considering when you get a rescue. Are you prepared for that cost, and you need to commit to paying that cost and budgeting for it. This isn't necessarily the case with every rescue. For example, Pickles was rescued by a reputable pet shop and we went and got her. But if you go to a animal rescue, there are a lot of steps you need to fulfill. You need to go through the administration process. They need to decide whether you are suitable to house that bird. And this means there's more admin involved. You need to be prepared to go through that admin, to be prepared for a home inspection, which may be on site or maybe just via a video call, answer a lot of questions and do all these things. I don't necessarily see this as a massive con, but again, it's something you need to consider as a bird owner. Are you prepared to go through all these steps? Do you want to talk through all these things? Do you want to sort of like tell everyone what your lifestyle is? We didn't have a problem with it because why would we? When we got Scampy, we went through the whole process. It was relatively easy, but it did take a bit more time, and it's something you need to bear in mind when you're getting a rescue. So again, another controversial point here, so please bear with me. Many rescues are reputable and great and very helpful. For example, where we got Scampy, Safe Haven Parrot Rescue were awesome. I mean, we just found the whole process amazing. However, not every rescue worldwide is going to be in it for the birds. I find it very difficult to say this because you want to feel that if you see a rescue, they're going to be in it for the birds. Some are in for profit, some are just not doing the right thing. They are rare, so please bear that in mind. But I guess the point of this point is to do your research. If you're considering getting a parrot from rescue, look into them, look at reviews, see what people have said about them on forums. Most of the time you'll find it's quite positive. For example, with Safe Haven, we didn't really find anything negative, so we were quite happy with them. Others, I'm not going to name any, may have some negative reports, so please do bear that in mind. It's less of a con and more of a cautionary thing that you should do before you get a rescue. So I'm sat with Pickles now, so you've seen all three of our rescue birds now, and I'm going to move on to my next point. I've touched on this con already, and I felt it's worth having its own sort of subheading. When you get a rescue, generally they can require a lot more time and effort. Pickles, for example, is amazing, she's a lot easier, but the other two, Olive and Scampy, do require a lot of dedicated time and effort, and you really do need to be prepared to put that time and effort in. I just can't emphasise this point enough. You must be prepared to put the extra time and effort in. Getting a parrot who isn't a rescue and may not have any problems is a commitment in of itself. Taking a rescue is extra commitment, and if you're prepared for that, that's amazing and you're doing a great thing, and you just need to be fully committed to that choice. A further con when you're getting a rescue that you need to bear in mind is you don't know the history of this bird. You also don't know his experiences or what it's been through. This can make assessing the behaviour more difficult, and it makes it more difficult to predict. So this can be something that can be challenging with them. Sometimes you will be provided the history of the bird. For example, the rescue will try and give you as much of a history as possible so you can make the best decision about that bird. Other times you may know absolutely nothing. You may have just rescued it from an online auction from someone and you've just seen it and you really want to help it. You don't know what that bird's been through. And so you need to take it one step at a time and carefully consider every action and just observe it and learn as you go. And this can be quite challenging because you may think that the bird's leaning to cuddle you or nibble you, and then suddenly it'll bite you, or you may be leaning to bite you and suddenly it wants to cuddle you. So you need to just sort of take that extra time, as I've mentioned already, and you need to sort of like assess every point and make sure you provide the best care possible. Another con, And one, again, like all these cons, these are more sort of cautions than cons when you're considering a rescue. They may take more time to train. So as I mentioned, you don't know those birds' experiences, you don't know what they've been through. So simple step-up training may take more time than you would have guessed, or it may take a different approach. You may have to find different favourite treats, or you may have to get them step up onto a perch, or you have to get them step up onto their cage first, and then onto a perch, and then finally onto your hand. It just takes a bit more effort and time when you're training. And again, if you're prepared for that, that's perfectly fine. It's just something to bear in mind. So now I've covered all the pros and all the cons. I'd just like to say that if you do get a rescue, it is doing a very good thing. If you're fully prepared as a novice bird owner or experienced one, you've done your research, you're fully committed, it's a great thing, and I think you should go for it. But do consider it carefully. Assess the pros, assess the cons, assess your own experiences and what you're prepared to do before you take that leap. And if you're prepared, great. If not, maybe you should consider another bird. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave in the comments, or any other pros or cons you can think of when getting a rescue. And in the meantime, I'd like to say have a great day and take care.